Please introduce yourself then to the
Yes.
people
All
in the
right. I'm so
audience.
excited. So my name is Keira Poulsen. I live in a small little farm town in Idaho. I have 5 kids and I love all things sacred. So I would say I'm a spiritual entrepreneur at heart. Everything I do is guided by the divine. I work with my angels. I do book mediumship, which I don't even know if that's a word, but I made it up, where I sit with people and their books actually show up and talk to us, and they show me what's inside the book. The book like is an essence, a spirit. And then people write like lava fast. So I had someone, my business partner, Evan Carmichael, he wrote his book in 5 days after we channeled. We published it in 8 because I own a publishing house. So I own Freedom House Publishing Co., which is magic. And it's a publishing house that only publishes books that will change humanity. So we have a very clear boundary on the books we bring through. And it's like birthing. Obviously, I love birth. I have 5 kids, so it's just birthing all day long.
Your business sounds like the Hogwarts of writing. It's like you're putting out these like wizards and magicians of spirit in written form, and it like blows my mind.
Oh my gosh, that's the best. I will take that. It is. It's so fun. So like I run masterminds of authors where as a group I help them channel their books, we bring it through, but then I have such a love for business. So it's like, hey, you're going to be an author. What are we going to create? Like what are you going to create that's going to serve humanity? So in my masterminds, it's always filled with like, let's build the work that's going to go change humanity. So it's just all the things. I know. So fun.
I have so many questions. I know we had a topic we wanted to talk about, but I'm just so curious. Did you start? Obviously you had a publishing company, but how did that all kind of gel together?
I think, and this actually is perfect with what we want to talk about, which is like how business transforms, right? So I'll say my part, and then I want to hear your story because I really want to know what you've been through. But like, 5 years ago, I was just a massage therapist. Like I was a mom all day and I massaged people at night, and I was a massage therapist for 20 years. I started when I was 16. So like I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always had my own little businesses. But 5 years ago, I had a lot of trauma memories hit, and it was just too much. And I was like, I'm ending my life. Like this is over. I'm done. I won't live in this world. And I felt like God stopped me. And God was like, you have work to do. So when I chose to live, I made a commitment that I would do everything that God inspired me to do. So a few months later, after that event, I was inspired to write a book. Ever wanted to write a book? Wrote a book. And as I was writing the book, I heard start a publishing house. I was like, what? Like, I don't even have a business. Like, what is this, right? So I like started a publishing house, did all of the things, met with lawyers, blah, blah, blah. But like, I didn't publish. It just like sat there. And in the meantime, I started to coach women on just finding their purpose, because I'd found my purpose, which was creating with the divine, listening, taking action. And so the publishing house sat there for 2 years, didn't do anything. It wasn't like, I was like, why was I inspired to do this? That seems like the dumbest thing ever. Like I hit the point where my bank account for the publishing house hit $14 because I wasn't putting money in it. And I was like, I'm just going to go close that account. Like, why did I ever receive this inspiration? This seems like the stupidest thing ever. I go to the bank to close it, and I hear an audible stop. I was like, okay. So I throw $100 in. I was like, whatever. Like, I don't know what's happening. And it was probably like a month or 2 months later, one of the women I was coaching, she came to me and she said, I just wrote a book. Like, what do I do? And I was like, oh my gosh, I have a publishing house. Let's publish your book. And then that was like how it like started to show up. But it's like, I believe we're shown visions that's not going to happen right away. And we have to go on these weird paths that take us to where we eventually will be. But every path we take, like everything I did, the coaching I did, I was a healer for like 12 years. So like all the healing work that I was doing leading up to this, gave me the tools I needed to help my authors move through their fears, right? Like, and I like started a jewelry company, which like totally failed. So like in the middle of this, I'm like starting a turquoise jewelry company. It totally failed when COVID hit. And what did I learn when I built that jewelry company? I learned how to build packaging. I learned how to like all this stuff that now translates into my publishing house. So I am such a believer that like entrepreneurship, everything you do gives you the next tool, the next tool, the next tool for the thing that you're really here to do. I could never be running the public, like we're publishing a book a week right now, right? Like we have books just pumping out. So we're publishing a book a week. I run 2 full-blown masterminds. So they're both full. I like do, I don't know, 3 live videos a day, 2 on YouTube, 1 on Instagram. I'm writing 3 books right now, and I'm raising 5 kids. Like Keira 5 years ago couldn't have done any of this. But like every path I took built an endurance and a strength and a talent to be able to hold what I hold now. So that's why, like, if things fail, they fail for a purpose and a reason, you know?
Oh my God. Your story, like, I almost like, I want to cry, like, listening to it. It's one of those things that we don't really address when we're talking to an audience about building a business, because it's scary to admit that, like how things are changing and it feels like purposeless at times. And it feels like, I think I'm also crying because my business is going through a major transition right now. And the way that it feels is so there one moment, and then like, oh, this is what it's becoming. And then the next moment is like, no, it's still transforming. It's still going, you know? And it feels like as I'm walking, I'm creating. And as I'm creating, I'm being given like those little bursts of inspiration and the go ahead, right? From spirit to say, don't quit, keep going, keep going. And I feel that for you on that trajectory of like, why am I even doing this? Why did I start a publishing company? I don't write books. I'm not, where did this come from? And it's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, I am like, I really want to share. Like it was like 2.5 years ago, we were on food stamps. Okay. Like I want to bring this like actual reality. Like people look and see like, oh my gosh, like, whoa, look at all these books are coming out. Like she is like so lucky. Like, hell no. I have like worked till 2 a.m. at night. I have pushed myself to the level of like, who the hell do I think I am that I can run this business? I actually got offered this extraordinary business partnership this summer with Evan Carmichael, and it was like, who am I? Who am I to say yes to this? And also like leaning in every damn time, every time. And it always feels like it's going to break right before it actually succeeds. It always feels like you're running in circles, like nothing's going to work. But when you just keep leaning in with faith and taking action, it's like the miracles happen.
That's it. You just said it right now. It's like if you keep on leaning into faith and leading with that energy, it's like the only thing that really is holding you up some days, right? When you're going through that transition. Yeah. It's real. And like, oh my God, I'll just share a little bit of
I want to hear
my story. I was a makeup artist for a long time, and before that, I was working in a spa, also doing facials, and I became a buyer, and I thought that I was living the dream in New York City as a buyer, and I would go to work thinking, you know, Devil Wears Prada, like Sex and the City, like all those visions of New York, like back then were feeding my inspiration, my soul. But I would walk in and I'd come to a desk that was like tiny cubicle.
Yeah.
I'd look at spreadsheets. I'd analyze shoe sales on spreadsheets. And it was like, this is literally killing me. This is like, I can't do this anymore. And so that was the first transition for me into business. I decided at that time, right, to become a makeup artist. And I was like old for the industry back then. I was 27.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so, I know, isn't that crazy? I was like, I'm way too old to start a new career. 27. I'm basically out to pasture. But anyhow, I decided to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And I made so little. I have no idea how I made it in New York City. I remember my taxes came to like 17,000 that year. Living in New York City in a $1,400 apartment. I have no idea how that worked. What did I eat? Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah.
But the thing that drove me was it was a dream that I had since I was like 12 years old. I had gotten this book by Kevin Kwan, this huge makeup artist in the 90s. And I was like, I don't know what this even is because my exposure, I had grown up in Michigan, my exposure to makeup artistry was the women who would, be at the counters at Hudson's
Yeah.
department store. And so when I decided to do this, I went in blind. I was like, I all I know is that there is this production school and I'm going to go and I'm going to like work my ass off. And I didn't phrase it that way. I think that might have scared me back then, but it just felt like, oh my God, I remember the first day I got paid ever to do makeup. I was paid $50 to do makeup.
Yes.
It was like an 8-hour day. It was something crazy. And I was like, I can't believe somebody's paying me to do my dream job. I can't believe somebody is believing in me so much that they want to hire me to do something that I actually love to do and I don't have to feel like I'm killing my soul over.
Yeah.
And so that was, the first time I ever felt that in my job at all. So 12 years I was in the industry and I loved it. I never actually got tired of doing that job. I loved working with people on set and connecting. And I think this is where the coaching started like filtering in a little bit. I would end up coaching people sitting in my makeup chair. I would end up
Right.
coaching the photographer, if they were having some sort of day.
Mm-hmm.
And slowly by slowly, I just started getting physically exhausted by the work because it's very physical. It's like especially in New York City, you're taking like a large suitcase of makeup everywhere you go. And so I knew that I didn't want to leave hating that job. I wanted to transition with grace, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also knew because I was about to move to Miami that something had to shift anyway. So I went to coach training.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a full year, right? It was 6 months for certification, then 6 months for practicum. And I just basically took what I loved the most in that makeup artist career, which was connecting with people. It was really learning everything about the humans that I'm surrounded by and helping them somehow feel a certain way, do something different than they would have done before, like shift something in their life, in their mindset. And I transitioned out of makeup and into coaching. So there was more of an overlap. It wasn't like a cold turkey thing, like going from a buyer to a makeup artist. But when I got into coaching, I didn't have that crazy dip in my income then that I did the first time.
Yeah.
However, through my coaching, when did I start? I started coaching, I started this business in 2017, and it has been through so many different iterations since. It started out as a training for makeup artists, and I wanted to teach like what it takes to be on set emotionally and to like just be able to be in space with people on set and not have your heart broken when your work was criticized. And so it started that way. And then it transitioned into coaching spiritual entrepreneurs, because a lot of people who were attracted to me, and it was like before I was out of the closet with my spirituality, I was really terrified about admitting, like, hey, I'm going to dive you into your soul over here. It was not trendy yet.
Yeah.
And so it was like behind the scenes, people were like, something's up with this girl. I can feel it, you know?
Yeah.
And then last year was what felt like so crazy. Last year, 2021,
Yeah.
I ran 2 business masterminds with a business partner. I had a podcast with a business partner. I still love her. We're close friends. I ran my own group program, personal group program, had like all these one-on-one clients. And it wasn't something in business that shifted my business from 2021 to 2022. It was something that happened in my personal life. Now, it was the craziest thing. I was engaged in 2021, since 2019, really. But I've told my story before, and it still like kind of gets me, and it's like to tell it even now. But everything seemed like it was set. I was engaged. We had a house. We were renting, but we were planning on buying a house. Like my life was like, oh, here we go. I have the career. I have the business. I have the fiance. I have the future ahead of me that looks like it's going to fit in, you know, a certain way and look a certain way. And then I found myself in the beginning of 2021 attracted to women. And it was the craziest thing because I was trying to deny it with my entire heart and soul. I was like, this can't be happening to me. Why is this happening to me? And it's so crazy the way that it happened because, as you know, somebody who works with soul and spirit, you really can't deny that sort of knock on the door when it comes your way, whether it be for your work or your personal life. It's like you can try to ignore it for as long as you possibly can. And then it's got to reveal itself at some point. So for me, I went through this phase of trying to see what I could do if I didn't address it. Then I addressed it. Then it was like I opened the can of worms on what was really going on in my relationship and why this relationship was probably just time to come to an end. It was coming to its completion. So I went through a really major breakup. We were together for 5 years. My family loved this person, and it was just, it was really, I mean, it was really a heartbreak for everybody. And I was, for the very first time in my life, being so honest with my family about what was going on in my life. And my family, I thought, was going to react a completely different way. I thought they were going to be like, oh, we understand. Thank you for telling us, or whatever. I always thought that if something like that would happen, where I would have to tell them something that they're, you know, that was like really out of the ordinary for them to hear, that they would accept me and understand and be there to support. And they weren't. It still is really hard. And the good news is I met my current partner, who is a woman. And it's just been a year of healing and transformation for me and for my business, because as I discover more of who I am, I realize that the connections that I build with people allow them to dive even deeper into who they are. And without even, right, like without trying to be a certain way, it just comes through. It's like the work that I do now is helping people get, entrepreneurs, really coaches, healers, hear that inner being loud and clear and follow the guidance from that inner being and integrating it into the life that they live and into the businesses that they run. And it's almost like I taught about embodiment before, this year. And now it's on a level where I can't even, I mean, I don't I don't even feel like I need to say much to be able to teach it.
Yeah.
It's like it feels like I can finally just exude my teaching by being who I am.
Yeah.
And it's been really scary but exciting at the same time, and it's like my heart feels like it's burst wide open. So that transition in my business, like over all of these years, I'm at that place, I think, Keira, that you were talking about, where you're like leaning on that edge, waiting to see what breaks through. And it's so scary for me too, because we're both speaking at the Unstoppable Business
Yeah.
Conference,
Yeah.
for those of you watching. And I had spoken at a conference with Minda Pacheco, one of the founders of this conference. She threw last year, and I felt so much more worthy of speaking because of the success that I had, the multiple six figures and the masterminds and all of the accomplishments and achievements. And coming into this year, I got to learn what real worthiness, what it truly means to be worthy, to be able to detach worthiness from achievement and really stand in that energy of worthiness is such a different thing than attaching everything to what you've done or what you could possibly do or what that, successful future looks like and your ability to manifest it. It's like, can I understand my own worthiness without the doingness, without the accolades standing behind me? And there's so many times that you want to stop, that I want to stop, or that I wanted to stop. And there's always just those few little breadcrumbs ahead of me. And I'm like, okay, keep going, keep going. Someone needs to hear this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel so lucky that I got to hear your story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's powerful. And what came to my heart was like how lucky people are that you're going to go speak on stage coming from that space of like am I worthy enough? Like that's who leads, right? Like it's from that energy, not the other energy. It's from that place, a place where we're willing to share our dark so that other people can witness their dark.
Yeah.
Like that for me, I'll share like entrepreneurship is the thing that's going to break you.
Oh my God. Yes.
Right? Like people think like they're going to go to self-help seminars and they're going to go read these books and like, cool. But like if you really want to get down to the core, like just choose to be an entrepreneur because it's going to just break you over and over and over. Right.
Oh
and
my
like,
God.
Look at what you've been able to create, even in the brokenness. Like maybe you feel like this year wasn't as successful, but I bet actually this is going to be your most successful year because you created even in the shit, even in the hell. You didn't give up. You didn't turn around and be like, never mind, I'm not going to do this anymore because like I'm going through a really hard time. Like you're here, like you're creating even in the hard. And that to me, like that's the magic. It's not us sharing our successes that's going to go inspire people. It's going to be like my boys, like they got pulled out of school because they were doing some things they shouldn't be doing. And it just broke my heart. And that day I just got up and I led my people in my mastermind with a broken heart. Like, guys, I'm a hot mess. I don't even know what the hell is going on in my life. But I'm going to show up and I'm going to serve even broken. And that's the thing is like, our lives, like if we can share in our brokenness, that's what's going to help people choose to keep going in their creations because it's not an easy ride. And we don't have life just lollipops and rainbows every day, It's intense what you went through while creating.
Oh my God, it's so true. And it's like, I'm sorry what you have also gone through with your boys. And I know that that is hard for us coaches to share because we're supposed to have it together, right? Like, this is what they tell us. And it's so crazy how it's like, it keeps on coming back to me that what we teach is like what we're learning also. And I, last year, I would never, never show up on camera and just let myself fall apart, you know.
Yeah.
But there's something about my commitment to truth now. And actually, when we were having that conversation on
Mm-hmm.
Zoom with the rest of the Unstoppable ladies, I don't remember exactly what you said, but I was like, her. You said something that I was like, she wants to share the shit.
Yeah.
She wants to talk about the real stuff,
Yeah.
the stuff that doesn't look like. And then I ran a really successful company, and then I did this, and then it was happily ever after. My family's perfect too. So here, you
Yeah.
know, this is what you're aspiring to.
Right. Look, what I shared, which was like, so I have a lot of trauma as a child, like lots of sexual abuse trauma. I'm always doing healing work, always cleaning that up. But I have a serious PTSD trigger that happens, like, and it will wake up if I don't feel safe, right? And it shows up when I actually show myself in the world. So like I blow up my business, boom, something inside doesn't feel safe. It always triggers PTSD. Thank heavens I have like all these healing tools. I have a shaman who works with me. I have a therapist. I got a support team. People have a makeup artist team. I got a support team, right? Like, I got a support team that holds me because I have to show up. I have to show up. It's like my commitment to the divine. So I had the biggest week. We launched Evan's book into the world. I launched my new mastermind. Like all these things were happening that week. Oh, I just finished writing a book the day before. Like all these things, right? I started talking about this book I'm writing called I Choose to Live, which has been my battle with suicide ideation my whole life, right? Like, here I go, share. And oh my gosh, did that trigger me into PTSD that week. And so here I am having probably the most successful week of my business. And in the background, I am like breath working. I am drumming. I am in my sacred tent 3 hours a day. Like I am doing the work. And I want to share those things because it's like people just think like, oh, this is going to, oh, look at all the success she's having. But it's like it really does pull up all the things that have to be seen. And that's what entrepreneurship does for me. It pulls up all the shit, but I'm willing to look at it every single time. And I refuse to let it stop the work I'm here to do. Like I
Um,
refuse. It's like warrior, like hell no will this stop my work. And that's why I share like I share, because it's like there are so many people like you, like me, who are called to do things. It is not an easy path, but it's like we need every warrior on board.
oh my God. That's what you shared. I'm like, oh yes, that's what it was. Because it was the week before that meeting, and then Minda and I had connected, and I was experiencing a childhood abuse PTSD. Um, it was like a reintegration of one of my parts, which looks
Yeah.
like a panic attack for
Yeah.
anybody watching who doesn't know what that means. And so, coming from that same sort of background of
Mm-hmm.
having childhood sexual abuse, and then having so much loss in my memory about what had happened,
Yeah.
like when that stuff starts to surface, when it starts to surface and you can't thought work your way out of it, you can't like try to just have a cheery mindset about it and go about your day. You literally are pinned to the bed in convulsions. You are doing what you need to do to take care of your body at that moment. The thing that we weren't able to do, right, when we were children in that past. It's kind of like weaving that part of the healing into the part of daily life where you're functioning like a normal human being. You're doing things in your work. It's like, how do we integrate all of it, make it whole instead of keeping it compartmentalized? And so that's been, yeah, I totally resonated when you told that story. It was just like, oh my God, these women are telling my story. As I was listening to you, as we were all starting to open up, I was like, we're really telling such a similar story. And that's when it was like, this is what this conference is about. This is what the Unstoppable Conference is about. It's like, yes, you can go to a business conference and you can learn a lot of tools and practical things, knowledge, ways to shift your branding and show up on social media better or whatever. But there's something about this particular group of speakers that I really feel like hit at the core of your heart and soul. And I was just like in that room with everybody, blown away. I'm like, I can't wait to connect with everybody. I can't wait to feel that energy that's going to be in that room. And it was just like, it will be unlike any business conference I think that I've ever been to. You know?
I mean, 100%. I mean, just this, right? Like just this conversation, what we've been able to hold the space for, which I think this is the magic. When you can hold the space for your own struggles, for your own dark, what it does is it allows other people to allow themselves to love themselves in all their ways, in all the dark, in all the light, in all the hell, in all the success. That's why this event's going to be amazing, because that's just what we do. We hold the space for that, which means when people come, like, they will be transformed, because how many people hold the space for both, you know?
Oh yeah.
And then say, let's go change the world, right? Like, let's do this. Like, let's do this. Like, hold both and go.
Yeah. It's so telling of our time right now, right? Like out in the world, how things are shifting at such a rapid pace, and there's no way, I just can feel that there is no way that continuing to mask what's going on behind the scenes is going to work. It just doesn't feel right, and it's really hard to function that way. And it's like the people who learn how to hold both, right? You do become unstoppable. You probably already are. You're probably coming to this conference to learn that you already are unstoppable, and there is actually nothing that you're doing that's holding you back. It's like you're letting yourself heal. If you come to the conference, you're still going, right? Like, you're obviously still into it. You haven't like hit the eject button just yet. And so to let yourself come into that space and be like, here's what I'm experiencing, and it gets to be okay, and I get to even share it. It's a different place than what social media was all about, was showing you that perfect package.
Yeah.
And just reporting, numbers and telling you that you could do it too and have your life not fall apart behind the scenes.
Which is just bullshit. It's like not true at all. It's not true. And the more we bring light to that, like, the thing that always comes to me when I'm talking with my authors, and they're like, oh, I don't know if I can share this. I don't know, blah, 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 all the things, right? Like, it's a full transformation to write a book, especially a book that's channeled, because usually you're not going to write things that you want to write, right? Like, that's kind of the magic. But I always say to them, like, think of the author that changed your life, the one whose book, like, transformed you. So, like, I feel like anyone who's listening, think of either the author or the coach, or, like, I look at the coaches I've had, and I know a lot of them have been through hell to get where they are. And if they had quit, I would have never gotten what they gave me. If that author had never written their book, like Florence Scovel Shinn, read her book 100 times. She's changed my life 100 times over. If she hadn't written her book, I wouldn't be here. Her book created the space for me to be here. So, like, we get to fight for all the entrepreneurs and all the creators and all those who feel inspired, because your work, those who are listening, your work is going to change someone's life. And if you quit because you think this is going to be a different way, that you think the path is going to be narrow and linear, and you think that success looks a certain way, you're going to deprive the people who needed that message, that work, that creation. And like, we just have to fight for them, because your story and my story, like, what a shame if we had quit.
Oh my God.
Right? Like, all the
Right.
5 million times I wanted to quit. Like, what a shame if I would have listened. What a shame if I would have closed that bank account. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I love what you said about the author that changed your life. Here's another thing we have in common, right? Like Florence Scovel was probably one of the first that I read in I read that book when I was maybe like 16. I remember my best friend and I were like,
oh my gosh,
The Game of Life and How to Play It. It came out in 2 versions, right? I don't remember who wrote the first, but Florence like adapted it to come from. Yeah, it came. She wrote it in the female voice. So like the first one was like, yeah, totally.
Oh my God. I'll have to look into that.
And I remember the book that she had, her mom and her stepdad were into self-development and manifestation and all the good things. And so I remember reading that book, and we would talk about it. Like, I've been friends with her since we're 15, 16. And so it's been like 20 years. We would like flip through the book, and just the sentence that you see inside of that book is like the one that you need that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the sentence that we say, right? Like maybe somebody's listening here and like just one sentence that they can take away from this conversation is the sentence that they needed to hear today.
Yeah.
And for everybody listening, the same for you, right? It's like it's like unstoppable is, I wish I could say it was a choice, but it doesn't even feel like there's a choice for me. It feels like I don't know how to not do this. I don't know how to not keep going. Like this is it, because I feel so deeply connected. And I don't believe my inner being would have it any other way. It's like I could pretend that I would maybe want to go back into makeup artistry, but then there's like hard breaks. There's like hard stuff. No, that's not it.
It's like, it's not possible. It's not an option, right? Like, that's when you know, like, this is what you're here to do. This is what you're here to do. And like, this is like Joan of Arc's message, right? Like, Joan of Arc was like, I am not afraid because I was born to do this. And that message is like, can we soak that into ourselves? That every time the fear shows up, or the worry, or the like panic of like, what I used to do isn't working anymore, so like, does this all have to end? Like, no, like, I'm not afraid, because I like know I was born to do this, so the next path will just open up, you know?
Yeah, it will. It's like that lesson of trust, or that lesson of faith is, it goes deep. Like that word faith, or the word trust. I have a story. It was like going through a major depression in late 2020.
Yeah.
And this is when I was like really good at like upholding it in front of everybody. You know what I mean? Like my Instagram was immaculate back then. And behind the scenes, I was experiencing depression from a miscarriage, and from losing my dog, and from just a lot was happening. And back then I also wasn't yet working with microdosing psychedelics. So there was like I was really stuck. I was like really in this stuck place. And a friend of mine was coaching me, and he was saying like, you just have to just trust. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know what you're talking about. I was like angry hearing that word, because I thought I knew what it meant. I thought I knew what trust meant. And I was like, trust who, trust what? And it was like infuriating to receive that coaching from him, right? We were in a mastermind together. We were doing a peer coaching session. To receive that coaching from him, just trust. At first I was angry, and then I broke down and crying, because I was like, okay, I can feel that this is truth, what you're saying to me. And he found this mug somewhere on the internet from this like, there's like local artisans from somewhere in South America making these like clay, these beautiful clay pots. And he sent me this mug. It was so crazy. It just had like a weird little face sculpted on the front of it. And then on the back of it, it said just trust. And I just remember the day that I opened this mug and I was like bawling because I was like, you know, those days of surrender where you just have those moments of really tapping in and remembering. It anchored into my cells like, okay, I'm going to do this. And it was just that day that I was like, I'm going to learn what this means. Now that's asking for something. You ask the universe to teach you a lesson about what trust means, you're going to learn it. And when you learn it, you're going to learn it to in a way where you can't let it go, where it can't leave you anymore. And you must know what it means. So to be able to learn trust, I had to be given all of these situations where I had the opportunity to trust or not trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so to dive even deeper into the, okay, I'm going to keep on going because I trust, because I'm co-creating with the universe, because I'm not here doing this all by myself, because the universe is actually working through me. And I actually gave myself this lesson because I wanted to learn something. And that coming through and me learning it in that way, it gives you that tool of breathing, right? And staying with yourself instead of escaping or running away from what feels really hard, and wanting to stay present with those moments are what completely transformed my relationship with that word trust or the word faith, because I don't know that I knew how to do that before I was given that lesson or really asked for that lesson.
Well, that's so beautiful. And also just how lovely that someone thought of you so much that they found that and sent it to you. Like, that to me is like, to be so cared for, like, that was like an entrance into trust, because there was like, oh, like the care that this person had you in their heart to find that on the internet and send it to you. Like what a beautiful entrance into the path of trust.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so true. True. That's the thing, right? A big part of it is the support.
Yeah.
Like the unstoppable. It's like you're not unstoppable by yourself.
No.
And you don't have to be to prove yourself worthy of success or achievement. It's like you get to build that support team like you were talking about. Like, I love that. I'd rather actually have a support team than a makeup artist. Don't get me wrong. If your makeup artist is super supportive, you feel that, you know?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, to have, you know, energy healers and coaches all around me, and to be able to tap into my hypnotherapist and her gifts, you know, and all the people around me that that are just there. I mean, I'm saying get to support me, but me allowing them to support me and not insisting, right? Are you, I'm like, are you one of those? I'm sure you are, because I'm one of those where you came from that point of being like, no, I'm going to do this by myself. Like, no, I got this. I got this. No, you don't have to help me.
Did you feel that? Can you feel that? Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's a really strong point to bring up, is most entrepreneurs are that shape. Like, I got this. Like, those were my words for years. Like, I'm a really strong person. I've been through hell, and like, I'm really good at what I do. I'm like a really strong person. I can do it by myself, right? And then it's like the breaking is the gift, because then it allows you to let people in. It allows you to find the support. And I mean, I really wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if, I mean, I meet with my therapist weekly. I meet with my shaman weekly. Like, I am so convicted to do what I'm here to do that, like, I know what I'm here to do cannot be done on my own.
Yeah, that you said it right there. There's no way.
No.
There's no way. I'd be under a rock right now.
Same.
You know?
Same. And that's really what this Unstoppable event is, to also help everyone realize that they're not alone. Because that's the biggest lie. That's the biggest trap. That's the trap that we get stuck in. That's the trap we can't get out of when we start to feel alone. And like, if we failed, like, yeah, my jewelry line literally tanked. Like, no one even knows I had a jewelry line anymore, right? Like, it just dead, lost all this money, whatever. Like, I know I'm not alone in that in entrepreneurship, but it's easy to get stuck in those moments of failure and to feel like you're alone and that you suck and that what you're doing isn't good enough. But like when we gather together, even with two of us, right? Like witnessing, like whoever's watched, like they're not alone in their struggles and their desire to change the world. They're not alone in depression and creation, right? Like bringing this to the front is what's going to help people. And that's what Unstoppable is going to be. Like bringing all of these people together and witnessing, like we're actually surrounded.
I was thinking about that right as you were saying it. Like, can you imagine who's going to be coming to this conference to attend? Not even just to think about the human beings who are drawn to this conference, who are already purchased their tickets, who are planning on being there, just meeting each other, just being able to be in the audience together, to connect with each other during breaks, and to like really connect in this way of like really deep authenticity. You're going to feel that support. It feels so different.
Yeah.
Like knowing that, and I can feel this is just like coming through my mind. Like, it's not everyone's family, right, that is super supportive to what they're doing at all in business and in their life. So it's like, if your family is not, and your friends are not, or they're not entrepreneurs, and if all these people around you are like, let's see if you can, instead of let me help you. How can I help you? How can I support you? It's such a different energy that you get, and the ability to move forward with that energy it's like life-giving instead of draining. It doesn't feel like that stuckness. And sometimes on those days, right, when you're feeling that way, it's like doing the work, like having this conversation with you, like connecting with people is what lifts you back up.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. I'm so excited to like hug you in person.
I know. Me too. Oh my God,
Really?
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm so excited. So I think really the invitation for everyone who's listening is like, lean in, whatever that is. If you feel called to come and be with us, come and be with us. If you feel called to go and create, and know that like you already are everything you need to be. You don't need anything else. You don't need no more like certifications. You don't need more like whatever it is that stops people from doing the thing. Like it's not needed. Like all that's needed is like this heart and the willingness to lean in. And I always say like full heart, full trust, which is like scary as hell when someone's come from trauma, right? Like full heart, full trust sounds like my motto, right?
Or like, it sounds good. And then you think about it and you're like, what did I sign up for?
But it's like, it's the place. Like full heart, full trust. That's where like it all gets real good.
Yeah. That is the truth.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for having me on. This has been the best part of my day.
Oh my God. Definitely mine as well. It's so nice to meet you here. And I can't wait to meet you in person, and all of you who decide to join us. Like, come up. Let's talk.
Yeah. Let's do this. Like, and that's the thing is like, come be with us and like literally be with us. Like I'm not a speaker where like I speak on stage and then I'm gonna go in the back, like whatever. Like sure I get to be on the stage, but that means nothing else. Like I am just one as everyone else. Like let's meet, let's collaborate, let's connect. Yeah. That is the healing agent.
So true.
Oh, we're 100%. Gonna have so much fun.
Yes. Well, everyone, thanks for being with us here today. I can't wait to meet you. Can't wait to meet everybody. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. sure we'll have more stories too by the time we get together next month.
Oh
All
my
right.
gosh, so fun. Bye guys. Thank you, thank
Bye.
you, thank you.